All right, so let's get it started. Those of you who came on time, thank you, and you guys will be rewarded. And then the rest will hopefully figure it out. I'm really glad and thankful today that we have Erika Villalobos, Erika Villalobos, joining us from New York. Erika is a health and nutrition specialist. She's got a master's from NYU in clinical nutrition. She also has an MBA on top of that. With the nutrition background, what makes this really special for you guys is that she's a high-level competitive tennis player, was a top ITF tennis player, played at Rice University, was an All-American, played at Fed Cup for Costa Rica, to name a few things. I'm sure I'm missing things out, but as you guys can tell, a high-level tennis player with a great background in health and nutrition. So, Erika, thank you for joining us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So why don't you tell everybody just a little bit about your background growing up playing tennis and what has brought you to where you are currently?
So my career was a little rocky because my whole family is in finance and banking. So I did that for about 5 years, but my passion had always been nutrition and how it affects performance. And so being a tennis player all my life, that's what that was my passion. So after like 5 years of working in banking and finance, which I did not enjoy, I told my parents that I was going to study nutrition.
Nice.
So you can imagine how that went down.
No.
But at the end of the day, it's just what makes you happy. And if you're not happy in your job every day, and you're at least 8 hours at your job. So I thought that was important, and I don't regret it.
Nice. Is there something about, before we get to the nutrition part, something about your tennis background, you're playing, either it's like a favorite memory or favorite match or something that you cherish about the game? What do you love about the game of tennis?
Yeah, so when I was 13, there's this big tournament in Costa Rica that some of you probably know. It's the Coffee Bowl. It's a Group 1, or some years it's Group A, ITF. So it's the highest level in juniors. And I would always get killed at that tournament. And when I was 13, I was Central American champion. I was Costa Rican champion. And still, like, this girl came, and I remember she was from Taipei, and she killed me like 6-0, 6-0 in like 30 minutes. And I was devastated. So I told my parents the only way that I'm going to get better is if I go to Florida to an academy where there's more competition, where I can play tournaments every weekend. And I literally begged my parents to let me go. And thankfully they did. And 2 years later, I came back and I got to the quarterfinals of that same tournament. And just playing at like in your country, like in a stadium, it's, I don't know, it's just something that you can't describe. It's like, since, I don't know, that was a long time ago, and I've never felt that ever in my life. So it was just playing for your country is amazing, and just like doing well, and like the crowd is really awesome. So
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'll put you on the spot right away by saying, during your younger playing days and college days, how much did you think about nutrition? How aware of it, the importance of it?
I knew it was sort of important, but I was focused on the vanity of it, more like I needed to be skinny, not like I needed to have energy, because there was a lot of pressure, especially for girls, they're wearing these like small outfits. So I understand there's a lot of pressure for girls. So my focus was completely negative, but I wish I would have known everything I know now in order to have improved my performance through nutrition, because who would have known like how much better I would have been able to play if I actually knew all these nutrition strategies that I know now. So
so with that, how would you describe, the word nutrition? It has many meanings to different people. So for young tennis players that are here, ages 10 to 17, how would you describe nutrition and why is it important? Obviously, they're here, so I'm glad that you guys are here, that you know that it's important, but how can we make it even a stronger case for them?
It's extremely important, because if you're not having enough carbohydrates, if you're not having enough calories in general, then your performance will suffer. And it's not a one-time thing like, oh, what can I do before or during the tournament that's going to matter. You have to be doing this consistently. As you guys know, just like with your training, it's the same exact thing. You have to be consistent with your nutrition day in and day out and be able to do something long-term, because supplements are not the answer. Supplements are just the icing on the cake. But if you really want to improve your performance, you have to be consistent with good nutrition. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Oh, thank you. So
yeah.
with that, just want to talk to all the guests. So this is going to be interactive. We're going to go over a few topics that we've mentioned, but feel free to raise your hand, put a thumbs up, or ask questions as we go along, so that way you can be heard. Although I had so many questions on our registration page that I think we'll kind of go over a lot those first. So the first topic was eating healthy during quarantine. So obviously, hopefully everyone is safe, and let's start with that. What are some tips and viewpoints?
Okay, so the three main tips are, well, the first one is don't drink your calories, because you're not training 2 to 5 hours a day like you usually are, or even more than that for some of you. So don't drink juice, don't drink Gatorade. You don't need the calories from drinks. You can avoid those, because those are just extra calories that you need when you need the extra energy. So just try to focus on eating your fruit instead of drinking it. Also, the second one would be more vegetables. Instead of, so instead of, usually your plate should be, if you're an athlete, it should be like this. So, can you see it? Okay, so like half of it, the carbs are the yellow. So 2 of these are carbs. This is your usual. These are the veggies, and this is the protein, and this would be the fat, right? But now you don't need as many carbs because you're not burning as much energy. So half of your plate should be vegetables, and a fourth of your plate should be carbs. Fourth of your plate, or the palm of your hand, should be lean protein, and then 1 tablespoon should be your fats. Another good tip is to not cook with a lot of oil, or because even if it's olive oil or even if it's something good for you, it's easy to go over, because fats have a lot of calories in a very small space. So if instead of using a bunch of olive oil to cook, you can use an olive oil spray. That'll save you a lot of calories, because right now you're not burning a lot. Yeah, I understand that a lot of you are doing like 1 hour workouts, but it's not the same as when you were playing, 2 to 3 hours of tennis every day. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Is there anything particular, like a favorite vegetable or something that is the highest nutrition that you would think of? Do you have a favorite? Like, what's your favorite vegetable to eat or gets the most nutrition?
I mean, I just feel like that's a slippery slope. There's no one good vegetable. It's just getting a variety of them, because each of them has so many different vitamins and minerals that you need anyways, that as long as you're getting a colorful plate, like, I don't know, red, greens, like tomatoes, asparagus. I really like asparagus. I really like Brussels sprouts. It's just a matter of knowing how to cook them, because a lot of people, including myself, I was like, gross, Brussels sprouts. But Usually when we say that, it's because our parents or the people that cooked for us when we were younger, they would boil the vegetables. And that's the worst way to cook vegetables. So if you roast them in the oven, or if you saute them a little bit with some garlic, things like that, or you can even put them in the air fryer, that now the air fryers are very popular. That's a much tastier way of eating vegetables than boiling them.
No, it's good. And I know that you and your Instagram page, which hopefully others have followed you already, you have like different cooking schedules and utensils, well, not utensils, but process of cooking. I kind of like that.
Yeah. So just showing people that it's not that difficult, and that I don't like to spend a lot of time in the kitchen either.
No.
So I like to do things that are quick and easy to do. So hopefully people will, do them if they're not that difficult and less ingredients.
Nice. Well, so let's transition from quarantine. The second topic was the amount of protein needed. I guess you talked a little bit during quarantine, but I guess normal training schedule, what does that look like for most people?
So this is very general, but on average.
Can you explain for some of our younger kids, what protein is and why it's important before we get to that? Sorry.
Of course. So protein, let's talk about the sources of protein. You should be getting lean sources of protein. So what does lean mean? That means less fat. So very little fat. So 3 grams or less per serving. So that would be something like turkey, or it would be something like skinless, boneless chicken breast, or tuna, or salmon, even if it has fat, but it's really good fat. So salmon is great. What else? Eggs. You could also have a couple eggs with some egg whites. You could have Greek yogurt that has a lot of protein as well. What if you're a vegetarian? Well, you can have lentils. That's the highest legumes with protein in them. You can have black beans. You can have tofu. You can have tempeh, seitan. So all of these are lean protein. Cottage cheese, low-fat cottage cheese, that's another great source of protein. So all of those will help you recover, will help you maintain your muscle mass. So you need at least a palm of your hand for each meal. So usually what happens is that at breakfast, you guys are not eating enough protein. That's usually what happens. So you're eating something like cereal or something like oatmeal, and it doesn't have enough protein. So oatmeal is not protein. So they're carbs. So what do you do to add protein to it? You can either put a scoop of protein powder on it. You can also, I have a recipe that you put egg whites in it. You can also eat 2 eggs on the side, but it's really important to get protein in every meal, because if not, you're not going to get to the amount that you need per day. Because it fills you up really quick, and if you just skip it for one meal, it's going to be difficult to, catch up the next meals. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as far as, it's dependent on age and a lot of different things, but what's your thoughts on protein shakes and protein bars?
I would much rather have the kids eat them from natural sources. Like I said before, the ones that I mentioned, and maybe have 1 shake a day, or 1 bar a day, but I wouldn't want you to have a lot of those, because then you'd be skipping out on a lot of vitamins and minerals that these foods provide, especially the dairy, which has calcium in them, and kids and teens need calcium at this age. It's extremely important. Yep.
Nice. No, that's good. That's good. So one of the last official topic is how to balance whole foods and treats. That's a tough one for me personally.
Especially now that we're at home. So what I like to do, I don't like to ban treats, because I feel that sets you up for failure. I feel that you need a strategy that you're able to maintain for life. So, for example, what I do is that I pick my favorite treat, whatever it is that I really, really like, And let's say, I don't know, I want like those Easter cream eggs, like the Cadbury. So I stay on track the whole day, but I know that at the end of the day, I can have my cream egg that, you know, guilt-free, because the rest of the day I've eaten well. I've eaten my veggies, my protein, my carbs, my complex carbs. Complex carbs means carbs with fiber, meaning like whole wheat pasta, whole wheat bread, sweet potato. What else am I missing? Yeah, those kinds are complex carbs. So if you're eating the whole day, if you're eating whole foods, you should be able to have one treat per day. I'm not talking about eating Skittles all day at practice. That's not what I'm talking about, because I've seen a lot of kids do that. I'm talking about having one treat per day and, you know, calling it a day.
Got it.
But there's an exception to that. If you're like my dad that cannot just eat one and will eat the whole bag,
Yeah.
then you can get the single serving packs, or just go to the store and buy one candy bar. If you know that if you have the single serving and that you're going to eat 10 single servings anyways, then just buy one at 7-Eleven, just buy one bar or one candy bar and just eat that.
So I'm going to ask everyone here in their chat to participate and write what's their favorite treat. Me, it's pretzels. I love pretzels. So
pretzels is not bad.
I mean, depends in volume, like you said, in volume.
Yeah.
So my treat is pretzels. Let's see what else we got from other people.
I love the Lindt balls. Yeah.
Ooh, chocolate bars.
Yeah.
What else we got? Come on, guys. Let's share. Let's be honest here. From Hershey's, okay? Does it have almond ice cream?
Yeah, but what kind of ice cream?
Snickers, okay. Yeah, the pistachio ice cream is my favorite.
Okay. Caramel. I'm getting
Gum.
Gum? Good for you. I wish mine were gum.
Mint
Sour
chocolate.
gummy worms. Ooh,
Lay's chips. Shrimp. That's not
shrimp is so healthy. As long as it's not fried. Okay. Dark chocolate, that's too healthy.
Cape Cod chips. That's my wife's favorite too. Oh, she's the one who wrote it. Sorry, I didn't even read it. Chips.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's usually your peanut M&Ms are great. Yeah, vanilla ice cream.
I'm getting hungry now. This is a bad idea. This is a really bad idea. Granola, yeah. I don't know if that's a bad thing. Granolas are not that bad, I think. It's
not that bad, but it has a lot of calories. Yeah. It's like a fourth of a cup has the same amount as like a cup of like normal cereal. Yes, yeah. Cadbury, that's my favorite too.
Yogurt covered pretzel from Sebastian. Okay, I like it. Before that, Abinit asked the question: how important is your milk in your daily diet and quantity?
Milk. I mean, you can get calcium from other sources, but milk is an easy way to get the calcium because
it has protein as well, right?
Yes, it has 8 grams of protein per cup. So, and 13 grams of carbs. So yeah, definitely good. And you absorb 30% of the calcium in milk. Whereas, for example, something like a vegetable, you absorb much less. I actually have a post that says like how much, because it doesn't matter if you have the same amount of calcium in 2 foods, it doesn't mean that you're going to absorb the same amount. So just be careful with the vegetable sources of calcium because you usually don't absorb as much. Ones that you do absorb more are the bok choy, tofu, and the Chinese cabbage, which is interesting because that's, usually in Asian cultures, they're allergic to lactose. So it's interesting that they eat these vegetables that have a lot of calcium in them, just naturally.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good. Good.
It's definitely important but if you don't have dairy products, you can definitely make up for it with the tofu and like the other vegetables.
Awesome. Really great answer there.
Yeah.
So let's move on to, a lot of you guys for the registration asked one form of this question. And so I really want to dig really deep into this. So pre-match, during match, post-match preparation with nutrition. So let's start with pre-match, as far as night before, what should you be eating, drinking, 2 hours before, the morning of, let's imagine that the match is at 10 a.m. The first match is at 10 a.m. And if you win, you have a second one at 2:30. How would you best prepare?
So let's start with the day before. So it's the whole day that matters. So you need, okay, so this is some math, so you guys pay attention. So you need at least 10 to 12 grams per kilogram. So what does that mean? That means that a body weight. So that means that if you weigh 50 kilograms, you have to multiply that times 10. So you need at least 500 grams of carbs per day before, the day before. So I'm going to translate this into very simple terms. This is a cup of carbs is approximately 50 grams of carbs. So that could be rice, that could be pasta, that could be pretzels, that could be many things. That could be juice. So you have to at least have 10 to 12 cups of carbs. What do you need to make sure these don't have? You don't need the fiber. Why? Because you're having a lot of this. So if you have a lot of fiber, what's going to happen the next day? You may have stomach distress, and that's not going to be pleasant, and it will hurt your performance. So this is the only day where you don't need to worry about having whole wheat. You can have white pasta. You can have white bread. You can have everything white. You don't need to have fiber in your foods. If you are vegetarian and you're already used to eating all that fiber with the beans and the lentils, then it's going to be trial and error for you. But everybody else, you should try to decrease your fiber as much as possible the day before with your carbs. And if you're not able to eat 10 cups of this, you can always drink them, right? So Gatorade, a bottle has approximately 20 grams, if I'm not mistaken. So you can make up for these cups with liquid. So you can drink fruit juice or the Gatorade, which will give you sodium and potassium as well. And you should start hydrating the night before. So, yeah.
So as far as Gatorade, I'll get into that, because as a lot of people say, it's good for you, it's bad for you. When you mentioned that at the beginning, it's bad for you now because people are not exercising as much. When is it good for you? If it's good for you, do you mix it with water? And then I'll add one more question to you. I know that's like 3 questions, but some people have asked, they see pro athletes and they're drinking different things. It looks like it's not Gatorade or something, it's their own drink. Is that something different from Gatorade, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, okay, so let's start with the first question. So when should you be drinking anything with calories? So if you're training more than 1.5 hours per day and it's an intense practice, you should be having 15 to 30 grams of carbs per hour. If you're just training 1 hour and it's kind of light and you don't really need Gatorade or anything else, any other sports drink, you just need electrolytes. So that would be like the Noon tablets. Why do I recommend the Noon tablets? Because they're one of the only ones that have stevia in them, and stevia is actually the only artificial sweetener that is allowed for kids, that is safe for kids. All the other ones, they don't know, so I wouldn't risk it. And when it's more than 2 hours, then it's 15 to 30 grams of carbs. Why is Gatorade better for you than normal fruit juice? Like if I drank lemonade, for example, because they actually put some science into it. So it's 2-to-1 glucose to fructose. That's the ratio of the drink. And in studies, it shows that when you have two different types of sugars, these are different types of sugars. So when you drink these, they use different transporters in your stomach to go into your system. So when there's two different types of sugars, then they get absorbed quicker than if it were just one type. So I try to look up what these athletes are drinking, but my guess is that they're definitely drinking drinks that have at least two different transporters, that are using two different transporters, because they need the energy as quick as possible in their system. So yeah, probably a combination of glucose and fructose. Yeah.
And what, because I know from going with that, now this is my question actually. There are people that cramp up just because they drink Gatorade, right? Because there's too much sugar in it. So how do you mix the water and the Gatorade, or, the electrolytes in the right mix?
So the cramping, what, to my understanding, is that you're not getting enough sodium and potassium. So I think that's just maybe mental. If the person is, maybe they just didn't prepare beforehand and they weren't hydrated enough before. I mean, you can have bananas, but bananas are not going to have the potassium. So I tell people, if they don't like Gatorade, you can have one of the Noon tablets. So you can have the sodium and the potassium, and you can have a fruit like banana, for example. So you're having the carbs and the electrolytes. But I mean, juice is juice. It's just more processed, so it's just going to get absorbed quicker than a banana. Yeah. So bottom line, it's just how fast it gets absorbed, and you need the energy as fast as possible. So in that setting, yeah, it's helpful. In every other setting, because, most people are sedentary, they shouldn't be drinking that stuff. But athletes would need it, yes.
And is there, that makes sense. Like during now, if we're at competition during the match, whether, I guess it's even more prevalent in the summer when it's really hot, but during the matches, what ratio of like water in general, I guess everyone is different, their training level and where they're at, but between water, Gatorade, and what other snack or should they be using to keep up the energy level during the match? Or I guess, yeah, during the match. Let's go with that.
When they're in the match, I would suggest whatever they can tolerate. So if that's a combination of sports drinks as well as just pure carbs, that would be great. And every person is so different. So for example, maybe since you like pretzels so much, that would be a great treat that you could combine with some type of sports drink, because the pretzels are pure carbs, they're low in fat, and they have sodium. So that's actually a great treat, and it's processed, so it's going to get absorbed quicker. Let's see, it could also be, there's like these like gummies that the runners get that are really good, because they have sugar and they have electrolytes as well, like the jelly beans. But it just depends on what you can tolerate. You can have white bread with honey and then a sports drink. But it just depends on every person's organism and what they can tolerate. So however much you can tolerate, because you can, if you're playing a tournament and you're playing like 2 to 3 matches a day, you need more than the 30 grams of carbs per hour. You need as much as you can tolerate. So that's why you need to be able to find a combination. That's why it's a lot of trial and error at practice. So you see how much you tolerate of food and drink, because, everyone has a limit until they start feeling sick. So if you try different foods, try different combinations, I like to have some people try coconut water, but add their own salt to it, like an eighth of a teaspoon, sorry. I'm going to kill people. An eighth of a teaspoon of salt, because coconut water doesn't have sodium, which a lot of people don't know. And sodium is actually the most important. So try that, because a lot of people tolerate coconut water more than Gatorade. That's another strategy, but it just depends on the person. Yeah.
Is there anything, obviously we know, we can kind of imagine all those treats are not, except for me, pretzels. I'm very lucky. We shouldn't have those during the match. Are there any things that you have seen, maybe you have done or others are doing, where you're like, well, this is not a good thing that you should be doing?
Yeah, so the tendency now is, because of all the diets that have been coming out and that sugar is evil and all this stuff, I see a lot of people eating nuts or bars that are very high in fat during matches. And that's not going to help you get energy quick, because the fat, what does it do in your stomach? It'll delay the stomach emptying. So it actually makes your digestion slower. That's why fats make you feel full. So if you're delaying that, then that means that you're delaying the energy get into your system. So
is this like Cliff Bars? Is that what we're talking about? Or just so everyone knows?
Any bar that has more than 3 grams of fat, which is a lot of them. Yeah, but I see a lot of people are just eating trail mix. Yeah, that's definitely not helpful when you're at a match. No. You just have to have low-fat foods that are just quick energy. Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's really good. Good. Let's go now post-match. Let's say you won the first 2 rounds and you're playing semifinals on Sunday, and you're going to have 2 matches, because we know you're going to win your semifinals and go to finals. So again, I guess post-match is similar to pre-match, but maybe you can tell me if there are any differences.
So pre-match, your focus is on carbs. So I would do more like 3-to-1 carbs. So something that's like carb heavy, like a bagel, and have some lean protein, maybe like 1 egg and some egg whites and some turkey, and do like a sandwich. No bacon, no high fat foods, because again, that's gonna delay the energy, and you don't want that. And you don't want to, because high fat foods may also cause stomach distress, so you want to avoid that as well. What else can you have? Well, if you tolerate dairy, you can have something like cereal, oatmeal, whatever you tolerate, because I feel, again, that's very individual. I used to like just white bread and honey when I actually knew about nutrition and I was practicing for a marathon. That was great in the morning. But then post-match, then your focus is more protein. So same thing, low fat, because you want to recover as quick as possible. That's in a tournament setting, right? On a daily basis, fats are fine, but when you're wanting to recover as quickly as possible, you need protein and carbs. So ratio of 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 carbs to protein. So that would mean, like, if you have like a scoop of whey protein powder, and then you can have 2 cups of juice, or you can do like some Gatorade with it. So that'll be that ratio, because you need a lot of carbs and the protein as well. And since whey protein is absorbed the fastest, then that's also going to help your recovery. You can have that shake right after your match, and then you can just have your regular dinner. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. Before we switch to the next topic, I want to give everybody, I'll give a minute for anybody to ask some questions here, pre, during, and then post-match questions. I'll give everybody a chance. That's what all the questions are about, so I better get to see some questions now.
Jasmine is raising her hand.
Jasmine, you can type the question, please, Jasmine. Guess we'll wait. Jasmine, where are you?
And Jake raised his hand too.
Jake as well. I'll give you guys 10 more seconds to ask your question. I want to hear it though. That's the thing.
There it is. How much protein? Wait, I didn't see it.
How much protein would you eat before a match?
You can have a regular size, but it just depends, like a palm. But same, like try it during practice. Try the combination, see how you feel. Because again, everybody's so different that some people are going to feel really good with some foods, some people not as much. So try like 20 grams and see how you do, and try to make it low fat protein, 3 grams of fat or less per serving. But again, yeah, just try it before. That's really important.
Okay, good. We got another question from Samil. Do you have a certain diet chart kids should follow?
Yeah, on my Instagram. So if you go to my bio on Instagram, then there'll be a calculator and you'll put in your age, your activity level, your height, and then in your email, you'll get a meal guide. So depending on the calories that you get, I'll give you a meal guide for each calorie range, because I don't want kids counting calories. Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, guys. One more question. I'm going to call some people out. I know all of you here. Maybe Armin, I'll call you out. Chait, I might call you out. Let's hear one more good question before I ask my final question.
They're being shy.
Everyone was comfortable telling about their favorite snack, so that's good. One more question. What one food should us athletes not eat?
So anything with trans fats. Well, no.
What are trans fats for all of us students?
Okay, so trans fats are fats that were human-made, and they were made so that food will last longer on the shelf. So basically, they clog your arteries. They're really bad for you. And even if it says 0 grams on the label, it could have a little bit. So what foods contain trans fats? It could be the microwave popcorn, the peanut butter that's not natural, that has some trans fats. So look out for those, because that's important. And another one that's extremely important is nitrates. So nitrates are what is used. It's a chemical that is used to so that meat stays, fresh. So it is in all the processed meats like turkey, so ham, bacon, sausage, all of those have nitrates. So if you're going to eat those, you need to make sure that the label says nitrate free, because I actually had to do a project on this, and there's worldwide studies that it increases colon cancer by 30%. And it's not just one study, it was hundreds of studies that were done all over the world. So
on your page, do you have a video on how to read labels? Because I think that would be a good thing for kids to see, because I would be shocked you know, you talk about labels. When I was a kid, I wasn't turning around and looking at a label. So
yeah. But actually, there's a lot of the processed meats that because everybody has been vigilant about it, so it'll actually say in the front. You don't even have to. It'll say nitrite free. So just be careful with that. But I should do something.
Yeah, there you go. We got the next video for you. That's what we're here for, helping each other. I think I know the answer, but Chait wanted to know can you eat fast food in between matches? Is fast food okay between the match?
So scroll down my page, and I actually have, because obviously you should bring your food from home, but if you can't, or if it's, if you're in somewhere else in some other state, I actually have for like each type of food, I think I even have like Chick-fil-A, what you can actually order there that will not hurt your performance. It's not ideal, but yeah. So I actually do have it. So just scroll down and you'll see like tournament meals. Yeah. For each type of fast food place.
There you go. I like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess one last question here. We go, how much sugar should you limit per day?
No, I don't like that question. I don't think you should see it like that.
I'm sorry, Janae. Your question's not getting answered.
No. I'll answer it. It's more like so sugar is in fruits. So I feel like that doesn't count because fruits have so many vitamins and minerals that it's not the same than you eating jelly beans or like gummy worms. So what I would focus on instead of sugar is focus on having my diet be 80 to 90% lean protein, vegetables, fruits, and whole wheat carbs, and have that little bit of wiggle room where I can have one treat per day. I wouldn't be saying like the grams of sugar. I think that's not healthy. You'll go crazy. No, it's better to just look at a broader picture of your diet. And if you're having 90% of foods that are healthy for you with vitamins and minerals, I think you can definitely have a little bit of a treat every day. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good. What's the healthiest way to cook things? That's just the last question. Right when you were done, it popped up. I had to.
It's okay. So use the olive oil spray, or use the they have all these sprays now. So coconut oil is not better than olive oils. They're all very similar. If you have high cholesterol, you should be careful with coconut oil because it actually has a lot of saturated fat. There was a lot of marketing on it, how it was great for you, but people with high cholesterol need to be careful. So I would use olive oil or avocado oil. You can buy a spray bottle if you want. They sell them on Amazon, and then you can just spray when you cook, and you use a lot less oil. So.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Erika, we spent 45 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. My last question is, if people want to get more information on nutrition and you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram page. Thank you, Joshua. At tennis player. Oh my God, I forgot my handle. At tennis player dietitian. Yeah, at tennis player dietitian. And if you want to get the free meal guide, there's a link in my bio. And if you have any questions, just DM me. I'd be more than happy to help you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And when this is all over, we're going to invite you to come to Legacy and play some tennis with us and see all the kids that you talked to today. So
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much for having me. And eat some pizza. No, I'm just kidding.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Erika.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.